Hi, everyone. This is Lorinda Buckingham here, and welcome to the Lorinda Buckingham podcast. Ladies, it's time to come in. This is our next podcast series episode as we talk about Sexual Assault Awareness Month and talk about sexual assault awareness in general. And we're going to pick up in this particular episode on Dinah. Now, let me go ahead and do a quick recap for people who may have missed the first show where I talked about Dinah and introduced Dinah. So let me just give you a couple quick recaps. Dinah, she is the one of the 13 children that Jacob had. Jacob is the forefather of the tribes of Israel. So he's a pretty big deal. So he's the father of the 12 tribes. He had four women that helped him with that. He had two wives, one that was named Leah, and she had a handmaid that he had children with, and then Rachel, and she had a handmaid as well. So Dinah was the seventh child of Leah. Leah had six boys and one girl. And out of all the children, she was about number 11 on the list. So she was about number 11. And many times people, they know about Jacob, they've read about Jacob, but people focus a lot on the fact that he had the 12 sons, but they forget at times that he had a daughter. And she was the baby girl. She was the girl out of the group. And she was his one and only daughter. Now, in his one and only daughter, unfortunately, she experienced a rape, a sexual assault herself. And then it went into a toxic relationship where the guy who raped her and then seduced her then wanted to marry her. So he just all of a sudden loved her. And it's almost as if, why didn't you love the girl in the beginning and loved her the right way? So he was speaking sweetly to her. He asked his father to try to help convince Dinah's father, Jacob, to have her as his wife. And so like I said before, I really found this story to be quite interesting because it gave a little bit of light of humanity and shed a little light on an issue here that was going on with a family and the girl that's in the family. And a lot of times people, they think that if you're this man of God or you're this woman of God, and or you have a family, you're gonna have this perfect family, you're gonna have perfect issues, you're not gonna have any problems. And that is not the case. And we see that here. And Jacob, he's in a place of reinvention. He's in a place of rebranding, and he's in a place of purpose, because this is the time where Jacob's name is actually getting changed to Israel. And he's kind of wrestling in his space here where God is declaring that, hey, your name is no longer going to be Jacob, but it's going to be Israel. And then in the scriptures, you're going to see the name interchanged quite a few times as it relates to the different texts. And so I want to say, make sure that you substantiate these claims and go in there. I'm not some theologian and, deep dive PhD type person, but just from what I read in the scriptures and just seeing different things, is that he had 13 children and he had a daughter that was sexually assaulted. So if you're out there right now and you may have experienced a sexual assault, or you may have experienced a rape, maybe you're a parent trying to juggle it, maybe you're a mom, a dad trying to understand you're not alone. As I mentioned before, and this is just my personal belief, I'm gonna have a faith-based belief, is that solution came through her big brother Judah, and that solution was going to be Jesus. And so there was some things, and we're going to read into that and go into that, where Jacob, he made an offering, but what happens is that through Christ, I believe that we get to have even a greater offering, right? We're able to go to God by faith through Christ and be able to receive everything we would receive through making a regular blood offering. That's what I believe. And so I think that there's some good news here, because sometimes when people go through things, they're trying to figure out, well, where was God in all this? How does God feel about this? Does he love me Maybe someone loved them and then they felt as though since he didn't love me, then I will just let men use me. Some women have expressed the desire to commit suicide, to kill themselves. And if you feel that way, if you're listening to this and you feel this way, I mean, make sure you contact a medical professional. Don't try to leave here early. Okay. You have some things you need to do and we want you to be here. So make sure you contact someone and reach out, contact 911, reach out to a medical professional to seek some help. And so we're going to continue and pick up from that. We're going to go into Genesis 34. So if you're listening, I'm going to be going into my Bible, and again, this is it's about lineage. It's about talking about sexual assault. It's about these different things, and this isn't about trying to shove any type of beliefs or anything down anybody's throat or anything of that nature. It's about using the tools that I use, the tools that I've seen, the things that have helped me to grow and sharing that with other people to help them to grow and for them. And I believe that the beauty of Dinah is that she's a part of that original tribe, that original Israelite tribe. She's a part of the foundation. Many times there's so many skeptical things and beliefs about women and their role and what they have to do and what it can be. And then some people they believe some of the blessings of God is through lineage. Some people think that the blessing of God is through birth order. Some people question whether or not salvation is extended to both boys and girls. So I believe that Dinah had a significant role. I believe she had a significant part to play. I think that in all those boys, they had God was like, you know what? You know what? Let me let Jacob have a girl and let me let Israel have a girl, just so in case there's critics out there that may say that there wasn't any girls in the bloodline, right? So it's like, just to make sure. And he also knew, I believe, that Judah, to the tribe of Judah, that Jesus was going to be born to Mary, who was also a part of the tribe of Judah. And so I believe that there was a bigger thing here. And so I think that this is such an interesting story because I believe that there's people out there that's just like Dinah. And so I'm gonna ask you this question. Are you like Dinah? Are you connecting with the story? Are you able to see yourself in Dinah? Are you that type of person where you felt like you were either raped or maybe even seduced? You're like, hey, because sometimes you don't think that your abuser may try to use affection or love as a form of control, or even use sex as a form of control for you and try to manipulate you. You don't even think about that because most of the time, when people think about seduction or they think about grooming and conditioning, they think about girls doing it, but they don't think about boys doing it. And boys do it too. It goes on both sides. Either one can do that. And sometimes it may seem like, I don't want to say that you cared about the abuser, but sometimes that's the tactic. That's the whole tactic. That's the a part of the con. That's a part of the scam. That's a part of the scheme, is to try to get you to love a story, to take on something that isn't supposed to be there for you. So let's go then. If you're listening or if you're watching, I want you to turn to Genesis 34. If you cannot, you can listen to me because I'm going to go ahead and read the scriptures out loud. So I'm going to recap Genesis chapter 34. And it says, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bore unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and he lay with her and defiled her. Okay, so let's look at those key parts again. He saw her, he took her, he laid with her, and he defiled her. So those are key things. So most of the time, whenever you deal with a sexual predator, he's going to see you first. He's going to see you. He's going to observe a situation, observe the environment, and then he's going to try to lure you somewhere, take you somewhere, invite you somewhere. Sometimes it may be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" And then you get to a place, and something happens there that you wasn't expecting. And in verse 3, it says, and his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel. and spake kindly unto the damsel. Some places says that he speaks sweetly to her. So it seems like she might have had a very kind-hearted, tender-heartedness, maybe a very kind spirit. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this damsel to wife." So he has this thing, very entitled, very entitled. Like, get me this woman to be my wife, right? And he's backwards, right? He's backwards. It's like, why not ask to be her husband first? Get her to be your wife first, then do these things. So in the Bible, a lot of times, the blame is placed properly, and we'll see that later on. But the blame is usually placed in the right place where it comes to these things, because a lot of times the men are seen as um the ones who usually had ideas, especially if it's dealing with innocence or purity or virginity. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they came home. So he held his peace. He didn't say anything. He said, "I'm gonna just keep it till they get back." And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. So he went out to go talk with him. And the sons of Jacob came out from of the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. So these are her brothers. They were in the field. They heard about what happened to their sister, their one and only sister. They heard about this and they were grieved. So if you know about anything in terms of grief, grief is a very over-consuming emotion. It's a very big emotion, and it's just like it's a sadness. It's over sadness. So they were grieved, they were sad, they were upset, because again, this is unplanned. This is not going according to plan. This is not what it's meant to be. This is, ideally the perfect life is supposed to be, you live it for God, and then you kind of do your thing, and then you get married and you get a husband and move on, right? And this is not what happened with this woman of God. With this particular woman of God, things did not go according to plan. Here it is that she's a part of this foundational Israelite tribe, and she's the only girl in the tribe, and this is happening to Jacob's daughter. And when Hamor communed with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her him to wife." And see, to me, it's like you asking for him to be able to wife her, but it almost seemed like he did. He already created a trauma bond, right? He already laid with her. So it's kind of like, so you want to try it out first, or what happened? In that mindset of a person who does something like that, you try to put yourself in their shoes. And to me, and this is just my opinion, I'm gonna insert my opinion here, so don't go taking this as ironclad. But this to me is like a typical like narcissistic response, right? It's like here it is, you have a person who has a victim and did not anticipate that they were going to love their victim. They did not anticipate they'll want their victim. And I think a lot of women get into situations like this. A lot of women get into situations where they're in relationships, but the truth of the matter is they probably started off as the person's victim. Right. And they may have had feelings, they may have had feelings, but it doesn't usually work out well. It's not its best. Okay, I'm continuing for verse 9. "And make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. And you shall dwell with us, the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein." So basically, what he's saying is that, let us go ahead, have these kids to get married. We can trade together. Your daughters can marry our sons, and our daughters can marry your sons. So he's basically trying to make like an agreement between two tribes, trying to bridge a gap and even create commerce, create trade. So he's thinking about money and financial obligations. At verse 11. And Shechem said unto his father and her brethren, let me find grace in your eyes, and what you shall say unto me, I will give. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. Now, this right here is significant. He is basically saying, what is it that you want me to give? Because I will pay the price. Typically in the Bible, biblical rape is a huge deal. People have to pay a fine. They used to have to pay a fine and a gift. You're supposed to pay a dowry. So the normal the normal way this is supposed to work is that all these negotiations, all of these talks are supposed to happen first. So you're supposed to have the conversations first about a dowry, about a gift, and then you take the woman to wife. What he did is he went backwards. He took her, he defiled her, he raped her. Then he's talking about this gift, but at this point, this is like a fine. This is very, very big. This is something that we see in the Bible a few times. It's not the only time where you have to pay a bridal fine. And in that bridal fine is a very important thing because some people have had to pay fines that probably amounted to years of work. So when he says, tell me whatever it is that you want to pay, I will give it to you. Just give me the girl to be a wife. Now, the one thing that I noticed in all of this is that they're having this full negotiation. I don't know if I really hear the level of respect. I don't know if I haven't seen anything where he really apologizes. Like he's like, I want you to find grace in my eye, in your eyes, but he's starting to offer money, but he's not saying, I apologize, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did it. It's more so like, look, I'll correct this wrong. I did it and I'll pay you for it, but not really understanding the gravity of what he did. And then so verse 13, it says, and the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully, and said, because he has defiled Dinah, their sister. And they said unto them, we cannot do this to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters unto us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we will take our daughter, and we will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem's Hamor's son. So let me stop right there. So what they're saying is that if you get circumcised, then we can have this agreement. But see, the Bible says they answered deceitfully. So we're gonna get into that a little bit more. But they answered deceitfully because they probably looking at them. And it's like, okay, you took our sister, all right. So then they're saying, well, we cannot do this unless you become as we are. One of the things I want to point out is that the sons of Jacob recognized that they were circumcised, but they also recognized that the man that raped their sister was not circumcised. Many times when we have certain issues, we have to, it's not about who we are sometimes as women, it's about the men that are around us. We have to make sure that we're around men of God who know who they are, so they can know who the people are that hurt us. Sometimes I think we find ourselves in situations where we're either not protected or we're not around in a tribe or area where people know who they are. And I think that some women find themselves in situations where they don't have people like the sons of Jacob who is looking at to see if someone is circumcised. Sometimes I think they look at the abuser and the abuser is uncircumcised, and so are they. So, but in this story, we see something here where we have men of God who knew that the person who abused their sister was not circumcised. They knew that he was not a man of God. And so they answered deceitfully because they believed they had other plans. Let's continue to read. Verse 19 in chapter 34 of Genesis. And the young man deferred not to do the thing because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hammer and Shechem, his son, came unto the gate of their city and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade therein. So they're still talking about the trade. They're like, let us dwell together and trade for the land. Behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us to dwell with us, to be one people, and every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hammer and unto Shechem, his son, hearkened, and all that went out to the gate of the city. And every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of the city. So here it is. Again, they're still talking about the trade. Like, we're going to be able to do trade together. We're going to work together. So basically, they're convincing everybody, like, we're going to be able to get married. This is going to be great. It's going to be bonding everybody. All we have to do is get everybody to get circumcised. So here it says that every male was circumcised, all that city, and every male was all that went out of the gate of the city. So all that went out of the gate of the city, every male was circumcised. And this is something they consented to bring this marriage together, to bring both Dinah and Shechem together and to try to reconcile the situation. And I believe that the king, he saw this as a way to bind the families, to unite the families, to right a wrong, and to try to bring harmony. And he kept bringing up trade. He was like, we could bring trade, we could do different things, right? Verse 25. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came up to the city boldly and slew all the males. Child. Let me read that one more time. Verse 25. And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, the two sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword and came upon the city boldly and slew all the males. Here it is. Now, Simeon and Levi are Dinah's full brothers. So Simeon and Levi are Leah's sons. So this is Jacob and Leah's son, and Dinah is the baby of the seven. Okay, so Simeon and Levi are her oldest brothers. So when we read this text and they say that they deceitfully told them to get circumcised, basically they had already decided. So you got to think they had to sit there and say, yeah, of course you can marry our sister. Yeah, you just have to get circumcised. So the whole time that they're like, yeah, you can get circumcised and become like us. And there it is. The brothers are sitting there like, you touched my sister. You defiled my sister. Oh, okay. And so here it is. Simeon and Levi both went in there boldly. It says they went in there boldly. They went in there to tear the club up, okay? And Levi, his tribe is going to be known as religious order. Simeon, I believe his tribe was known for strength. He's known for strength and empathy. So basically, strength, empathy, and religious order went into that tribe. Okay, and this was a huge thing. So you have a wedding that turned into a massacre. We're going to go into that even more, but you have a wedding that turned into a massacre where Dinah honor is being defended. So now some people, they may look at this and say this is wrong, this is vengeance. Some other people may look at it as her honor is being upheld. So it just depends. Okay, let's continue. And they slew Hammer and Shechem, his son, at the edge of the sword, and they took Dinah out of Shechem's house and went out. So that means that she was living there. So they took her with him. And so they took her back. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and spoiled the city because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep, took their oxen, their asses, and that which was in the city and that which was in the field, all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives they took captive and spoiled all that was in the house. And Jacob said unto Simeon and Levi, you have troubled me to make me a stink amongst the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites, and I being few in number, shall they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. And they said, should he deal with our sister as a harlot? So I'm gonna stop right there in reading that scripture. That is Genesis chapter 34. If you want to go back and read it, Genesis chapter 34, where we have this whole entire situation, this negotiation going on, and it turns into a massacre. It turns into something that ends up being it's just very I get connected. But these type of things are happening in that particular city, but they're like, should our sister be treated as a harlot? So this is a group of brothers who are looking out for their sister, and they were angry, they were mad, and they had to eventually make reconciliation. But sometimes when we look at this story and look at the story of Dinah was in a toxic relationship. This was toxic, guys. This was not a good relationship. This is a relationship that had abuse in it. This is a relationship that had manipulation. There was supposed to be a wedding and it turns into a massacre. This is a lot of trauma. When you think about trauma and think about the depression, think about the emotions that Dinah is going through. And I want to ask you this question. I want you to think about this. What emotions have you gone through? What things have you gone through? It seems like it's crazy. It seems like who will believe something like this? I mean, it sounds that way when you read it too. You know, when we look at the Bible, we look at this story, the humanity of this story. This is a lot for a first relationship. This is Dinah's first relationship, and her first relationship is a sexual assault. Her first relationship is drama, trauma, abuse, lies, manipulation. She was raped, she was seduced, she was, about to be exposed to a marriage to a man who took her, who defiled her. And, she probably, was trying to find some direction, and her brothers, they did not go for that. So we're going to leave right there. And I want to encourage you all to continue to read the series. We're going to keep going forward, talking about these things. I want you to think about this within yourself. Somebody you know, someone at your job, someone at your church, someone in your family. I want you to think about these things. How do you connect with Dinah? What about that story? Maybe you felt as though you didn't get the rescue you deserve. Like these men, they were rotted, body, but maybe you felt as though no one believed you. No one believed you. No one believed that this would happen. Maybe they felt that the story was too crazy. Maybe people around you were disconnected and disassociated from it. Tell me your story. Tell me what it is that connects with you with this story of Dinah. Tell me how Dinah makes you feel. I think there's a lot of women out there that's just like her. That is just like her. These are women of God. These are people of God that are connected either through lineage or through faith that have had trauma. And the good news about it is that it's not something new under the sun. Your traumas, your pains, the things that you've gone through, it's nothing brand new. God has seen this before. I've talked to different women many, many times through our programs who have gone through different traumas. And it's very reassuring and refreshing for them to know that there are other women who've gone through the same thing, but also other women in the Bible, people that have had a cause on their life, that had purposes with their life. And it didn't stop the purpose that God had. It didn't stop the purpose for Jacob. Jacob still continued to do what he needed to do. And it did not stop the purpose for the tribes of Israel. So I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be reassured that there's a plan for your pain. There's a plan for you, that there was something cooking in the background. There's always something cooking. And God has something cooking. He knew what would happen. And so when Jesus went to the cross for us, he already thought about your abuse. He already thought about your trauma. He thought about that already. He's been there already. He's been there, and that's good news. See, that's the good news. That's what's refreshing, because sometimes when things don't go our way, when things are unplanned, we have a tendency to think that God let us down. We think that God let us down. We think that God forgot about us. We be like, wait a minute, hold on, where were you at? Did you do this? Did you do that? But many times He's right there. He's right there, nothing new under the sun. And he's there and he restores, he heals. He brings us back to square one. He brings us back to where we were, and he brings us back even better. He brings us back better than ever, better than we were before the traumas. We still get to walk in the blessing of Abraham, walk in the blessing of God, and walk in our identity that God has given to us, that God has promised to us. And that's good news. That should be something that should be encouraging to a lot of us out there. I know it's encouraging for me to read these stories, and there's many other stories, but Dinah has a special place in my heart because I like the fact that she's a foundational Israelite. That's what I call her, a foundational Israelite. I don't know if that's what they're called, but that's what I call them. It helps me to identify with them, and identify Jacob, who name later changes to Israel. It helps me to identify Israel. So again, this is about you. I want to encourage you to join our Patreon and join our podcast. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. And I want to encourage you to join in the community, get connected to the community, learn more within the community. I promise you that you will definitely enjoy the series that we have. Leave any comments, questions, concerns, so that way we can discuss them. You never know. I might make a video or I might do a show based upon what you leave behind. Again, this is about you, your freedom, your balance, and your faith for success. Take care, ladies. Until next time, bye bye.